guys, what's going on? You are listening to This Week in Geeks Prototype. This is a vacation edition. That's right, we shouldn't be here today if we are going to quote the great philosopher and salsa shark himself, Dante Hicks from Kevin Smith's Clerks. But yes, I am not alone as I travel through the digital landscape that is this dystopian hellscape we call 2020. I am joined with the man in Kitchener himself from New Berlin.
Yes, Alex the producer. I was going to call myself Alex the Binger, but that doesn't work. I'm more like Alex the Marathon Man.
Yeah, I don't know how you watch so much crap. I can't do it.
126 or 128 episodes of anime in like 4 days.
However, I cannot complain because me and my wife, since as I mentioned off the top of the show here, we are on vacation. I have watched almost 5.5 seasons of Hell's Kitchen, or as we call it, Shouty Man.
Now have you started, like, I watched so much anime of that fairy tale shonen show because there's the RPG coming up, and I was like, hey, if I end up playing that game eventually, I'd like to actually know the show. I started having dreams where I've got magic and I'm in the anime. Did you end up having dreams where you're just being yelled at or yelling at people, swearing at them, and you're like, food?
Well, let me tell you, I think I'm a lot more cocky if I could get into the kitchen. I'm thinking, yeah, I could probably debone a crab. I feel pretty confident about that.
Are you going to put 2 pieces of bread beside your head and say, what are you?
Yes. Oh, my God. Or, it's fucking raw, into the bin with you. Yeah, it has been wonderful, though.
I love when you see him, like, out of the kitchen though, and he's just like a genuinely nice guy. But he has that competitive attitude because remember, he was a soccer player.
Oh yeah, like it's weird watching the switch get flipped on him because like he'll go from having a challenge and the blue team will win, they'll go out, going to like the horse track, they'll hang out, have a great time. Then they go into the kitchen, he's like, you fucking idiot, and then he's a nice guy again. It's really weird. This, like, I think he's bipolar.
He's the epitome of work hard, play hard.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he expects a certain level of competitiveness from you, a certain level of quality. But we're not here to talk about Gordon Ramsay.
He's kind of Michael Ironside in Starship Troopers.
Yes, he works hard, he plays hard.
Yeah.
So yes,
now have fun. That's an order.
Now, speaking of having fun on vacation, I have been on vacation since July 5th, more or less. Which, to update you people, I ended up in the hospital. Because that's fun.
Because that's not like a yearly occurrence lately.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, Mike's about time to go into the ER. So I've gone to the ER a few times.
Mike hasn't died lately.
Yeah, pretty fucking much. So I had a really bad infection and dehydration. Although the funny story behind that, if you've been listening to our coverage over the last few weeks, I did a podcast with Andrew Roebuck, and at the end of one of the Power Rangers conversations we have with him, Kyle, and I think the other person's name was Jason, I want to say, we're talking, and the conversation wraps up remarkably quickly. I'm messaging Roebuck. I'm like, yeah, I'm having a diabetic reaction and I'm going downhill fast. So can we wrap this up? So after that conversation was done, I went into the ER in the morning. They gave me intravenous fluids, and then I was put on antibiotics. As of today, I'm just finishing those. I'm looking pretty good right now. I'm finally hydrated. So yeah, that was fun. And then we just had all this other stupid crap happen. We've done some tech work around here at the Twig Studios.
Basically, the bird's nest is being upgraded to 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm finally in the future, or modern now. So
well you're also, it's part of the upgrades were like removing, you had a mounted TV that was mounted to go straight where you could only look at it basically from 1 or 2 angles, and we're like, we wanted to make it so that you could actually play your games for review and actually enjoy them.
Yeah, like
so
now
we mounted a wall arm essentially that allows you to tilt the TV at a much higher angle, as well as tilting it up and down. So now there's basically nowhere where you can be where you won't be able to clearly see things.
Yeah, it has been night and day. So one of the things that I wanted to do, and I have been doing back in March and into April, I had a bunch of games I was going to put off to play until I was able to fully appreciate and enjoy it. And that main game was Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I know Alex had been bugging me, Ken had been bugging me, and I said, I'll get to it, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. And finally, the stars had aligned right, and I was able to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm in the midst of playing it right now, and I'm seeing it in 4K HDR with Dolby Atmos, and it's fucking fantastic. I'm having the time of my life with it. I'm just experiencing the story. I'm not going to grind. I don't care. And it's been great. I'm also going to play Persona 4 Golden next week on Steam. Looking forward to playing that. I'm going to probably start Xenogears in August if everything works out right.
Xenoblade, right?
Yeah, Xenoblade's 2 on the Switch. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been nice. Other things that have been going on with me, I have my wedding anniversary coming up next week with Blair. We will be married 9 years. We have been together for 13 as of the 23rd. So go us. So that'll be fun. I got some pretty big
monogamy.
Yeah, yay! I'm normal, I guess, or it's weird.
Yeah, you're normal. Well, I mean, not a lot of people make it to that long anymore.
Yeah, it's so strange, and I guess that's a conversation for a different show. But
you got past the 7-year itch, and now you're joined at the hip.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we are mated like penguins, is a good way to describe us. Other fun news: I've been getting out almost every single day since the middle of June in my wheelchair,
awesome.
Which is fantastic. I've been out more in the last month than I've been in the last 2 years. I'm going to stores. I've actually gone to appointments by myself, which is something not thought possible for the longest time.
Talk about a confidence booster, eh?
Yeah, it has been a world changer. And as of this recording, which I presume this will be up on Sunday, if you're hearing this,
it'll be Sunday or Monday, because we still have a Sunday Funnies to put out.
Yeah, I'm going to the doctors, so watch my social media, and we'll see how much weight I've lost. Which hopefully that'll be some good news. I'm hoping. So anyway, we have a lot to talk about. As we mentioned, this is the Prototype, not the Twig regular show. We're going to talk about some of the things that have happened in gaming. We're going to have another one of these at some point next week when Xbox does their Xbox showcase on the 23rd. It'll be after my wedding anniversary. We'll probably do it on like Friday or Saturday. So keep your web browsers tuned here, or wherever you download this podcast. But we're going to talk about Stadia. We're going to talk about Ubisoft. We're going to talk a little bit about Sony showing off the DualSense controller with Jeff Keighley and Devolver Digital. It's been a lot of stuff to talk about, and yet not a lot of stuff to talk about. The most significant one in terms of length anyway was probably the Ubisoft, but the one that showed off the most was Devolver, I think. Stadia was there.
I would say it was sort of 50-50. Like, Devolver was first. That was the Saturday. And they did their classic shtick, which is the continuing their fake storyline with their fake like company members, played by actors. Which, you either like it or you don't. If you can, it's very Adult Swim, like fake commercial sort of humor. They showed off a few games there. One we didn't really care for. That was what was the spear one? I don't even remember the name because I wasn't even going to pay attention.
It was like Orchi,
Oligi or Ouija.
I'm not sure how to
game.
I mean, it looks neat. The fact that it looks like it's like pixel physics in a weird way. Like,
yeah,
whichever way you aim your spear, you attack.
Yeah,
but you bounce around.
That's cool, but it's so out of our wheelhouse of anything we would actually like to play personally that
I'm just not good. I'm just not good at those type of games.
Yeah, I don't like that art style. I never did. I love the classic like 8-bit or when they go like retro HD, sort of like the
Octopath Traveler sort of thing.
Yeah, the like blood cursed, like the Metroidvania style when they do that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I don't like the look where they purposely make it look like they couldn't do better graphics.
I don't know. I mean, I appreciate what goes into the backgrounds, if that makes any sense, but I don't like how the characters look.
The sprites, there's no detail to them. It's like, here's a pixel for your face, the whole 1 pixel.
Although, if he's sharpening a sword or a spear, you see sparks coming off it.
Oh yeah, like that's where like I don't get why you make all the special effects look good, but not make the characters look good.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a game like from the NES or the Super Nintendo era or Sega Genesis, those pixels look fantastic, and we've seen like that Blood Ritual, whatever the hell it's called, the one that's coming out for the one that is out now for all the consoles.
Yeah,
it looks fantastic. This one, not so much. Shadow Warrior 3 was showing off. That'll be next gen, which looks pretty cool. The Shadow Warrior series, I think it came out 2014, 2015. After
like
a
originally
very long
it was,
absence.
Yeah, it was like 2000s or late 90s were the first one.
Yeah, I remember playing those LAN at my high school. So that's how old they are.
And you're old.
Yeah, I'm older than shit. So,
so you've got those. The second one, I think everybody has played, but nobody's beaten. It's sort of the idea behind it. Like, it's been part of like every Humble Bundle ever, and I know it's been given away on every console at some point.
Yep.
It's just one of those, like, everybody tries it. They're like, this is cool, and then they never actually finish it.
Mm-hmm.
This one looks like a quantum leap forward in quality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. I'm predicting it may end up on Game Pass sooner as opposed to later, because it seems like Devolver works pretty closely with Xbox, and Xbox needs not necessarily exclusives, but you look at how it did its strategy with Xbox Game Pass, and it got not the same company, however, but you look at how it got the Outer Worlds day one, and that was on Game Pass, whereas you had to buy it on PlayStation. Xbox, if they did, hey, you can have Shadow Warrior 3 first on Xbox Game Pass or whatever, I think that might work for them. That's pure speculation.
They did announce that Carrion is which I have for review, is getting a day one Xbox Game Pass release, and I believe it's going. I think it drops right when the
July 23rd. Yeah,
it's the same day as it probably dropped during the press conference.
Yeah, so that looks cool. Basically, you're a monster who's killing other people.
See, and now that is a pixelated look, but it looks fantastically detailed.
Yes, it looks purposely rough but detailed enough,
with tons of stuff happening on screen, and it brings back the feel of the old school 8-bit games where if you squint, it looks HD.
You know what it looks like? It looks like a super, super, super smooth Nintendo DS or 3DS game.
Yeah, like it looks like a demo you would have seen at E3 showing what the DS could do.
Yeah, but it looks fantastic, and the press thing that they did, they had Phil Spencer talking to the Carrion monster, which got memed into oblivion.
It'll be forever. Him making the disgusted face is going to be in every time somebody screws something up at Microsoft, that's the face they're going to show as the meme, and it'll forever be known as disgusted Phil. Now, other things they showed were the Serious Sam 4, which looks kind of fun. It doesn't look like there's, or at least at this show, they didn't show like there was like a ton of things on screen, which is what it's known for, is tons of enemies. And it turns out it's because it's also coming to Stadia, and Stadia is going to have the ability to show more things on screen. Cool. They also showed off, was it Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout? That was introduced by the head of, I think it was it Sony's indie division or Sony's software division, something like that.
And we saw this last year, and it looks fine.
I thought it was already out. Like that's
same here.
I guess everything got pushed because of COVID or something, but like I thought it was like already out. Maybe it was out in beta or something earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you basically run around, try to knock people over, and be the last one standing, I guess. I don't know. It looks okay.
Yeah, that game that we didn't care for was called Olija.
Okay.
Olija. And then they did a little bit of like spoofing other press conferences. They ripped on Konami pretty hard. They're
and
like
Nintendo.
yeah, but the Konami one just today we saw a press conference where they announced 4 new Metal Gear games, and during the conference they had a break-in person come out and announce that they canceled 3 of the games. and the Nintendo one, that was pretty good. Yoshi's in jail. They call him the Mouth.
My uncle who works at Nintendo, who pulls a tape out from under his gut.
The goods. Yeah, well, I mean, everybody knows that's where all the best secrets are kept, is in the undergut.
Well, of course.
So they showed that, and then the coolest thing they probably did was at the end, revealing that because you couldn't go to E3 because there was nobody available to go, they made an entire game on Steam that is about you sneaking into the shutdown E3 press conference, running away from Sentinels, and trying to go to the booth so that you can play the demos of the games they showed in this press conference.
Have you actually done it? Because you're more of a PC gamer than me.
I have not, because it had slipped my mind, but I might do that because I'm playing Carrion on PC right now as well, so I could easily just pop in and see how that goes. Because I heard that they had buried little secrets in things like the achievements, like and like little teasers for things. So they might even be showing off other games that weren't shown at their press show.
I think Devolver, if they do anything right, they do marketing right, and I think other companies could learn from it, but if they did, it wouldn't be authentic. Devolver is big enough, yet small enough, they can get away with this weird shit.
They're really like they are like the Adult Swim of game companies.
They're like the inmates who run the asylum.
Yeah, they got their little slice of pie. They don't make games themselves. They have a bunch of partner developers, and they handle all the publishing and marketing. And they've curated a list of like games that really suit that type of audience. There's never really anything they release that's off-brand.
Yeah, I mean,
except for Fall Guys, that's the only one that seems odd.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem like a Devolver title to me, but I guess you need something fun. They also announced a new studio. I think they're called the Beans Team, and they're based out of Toronto, and they're hiring, evidently.
Yeah, their entire part of the press conference was to say, hey, we're hiring, send us your resume.
Yeah, they don't tell you what they're hiring for. They're just like, hey. It was a girl and a guy just saying, hey, we're Canadian, like us. And
and in the credits for the show, they were listed as the Canadians.
Yeah, so
and they also had Suda on there showing off No More Heroes for one single frame of him giving a thumbs up, and he's credited as a guy who's not in the show.
Yeah, like again, Devolver gets points for doing all the fun stuff without it overstaying its welcome.
Well, especially since like Suda's got, as far as like Japanese I would say like auteur creators, where everything has a very distinct vision from the creator, he's probably the most interesting, because like his marketing campaign for No More Heroes so far has been make a big deal about opening the ceremonies for the New Game Plus Expo while covering up all of the gameplay of your game by standing in front of a green screen of it, and not even mentioning that in the background we're showing off the new game. Thank everybody for being there. And then that was the entire amount of his input into that show, even though he was listed as like one of the premier people. Like, it's like Grasshopper is going to be here, and it was him presenting the show with a green screen of his game that you can't even see the gameplay of. And this time, he's marketed as being in the Devolver show, and it's in a frame at the very end giving a thumbs up. Like that's like brilliant viral marketing, and it makes sense because his viral marketing style is very close to what they do at Devolver.
Yeah, like I said, it just worked. Devolver's show was very entertaining from start to finish, as it always is. The next one was Ubisoft Forward.
Yeah.
And to talk about the big elephant in the room for just a moment, Ubisoft has not had a good couple of weeks.
No, it seems anybody who's not Yves has been fired at the executive level.
Yeah, and it hasn't been good. I mean, they've been rocked by sexual assault allegations.
Yeah, not like in some cases corroborated by many people.
Yeah, they are cleaning house over
and not just like pointing fingers and saying like people having visual proof.
Yeah, like it's not pretty. And this struck me as really, really, really odd because I know certain people who have worked in and around this company, and they said we understand that we have had some problems in the last few weeks. I'm obviously paraphrasing here,
Yeah.
but we didn't record anything before the show. So with that, today we're focusing on games.
Yeah.
And
I was pretty critical of that. That I felt that Yves should have come out and
said something.
and it, in front of a Zoom camera, in front of his iPhone, in front of something, and very impromptu just said, "Hey, you've seen a lot in the news. Rest assured, we're taking things seriously. We're going to, make sure that everything is corrected as can be. But please don't take that away from the show. The show was recorded beforehand. Please enjoy the games. We're really, happy to show you what we've been working on." That would have been enough.
Yeah, exactly. Show
30 seconds, and 30 seconds of him speaking it in English, or even if he had to speak it in French, if he wasn't able to be prepared for a speech, so he wanted to say it right, he could have done that from anywhere in the world for 30 seconds, and then they could have added that to the beginning of the show. I feel like I know why they did it. They really didn't they wanted to have a big disconnect between what's happening with their staff and what their games are, but I feel like it was in poor taste to just put a tweet up.
Yeah, and also when they put up that tweet, it didn't have the hashtag on it, if I remember correctly. So they didn't want people using the hashtag with this particular tweet on it.
Yeah.
So that's not cool.
Yeah. But I do get what they were doing, why they were doing it.
It's marketing.
You literally had to flip a coin. You could do it one of two ways, and they chose one way.
Yeah. So
because the only other way would have been to not address it at all, which is not good.
Yeah. So that being said, hopefully they committed to cleaning house and maintaining a better environment for their employees.
And from everything I've read, I was like, people were saying, well, the CEO has to know this. Well, everything that I've read, even from people that are former employees that are popping up, they're saying that it's not a case of like the top level board people or Yves as the CEO and all that. None of them knew what was happening because they were insulated. The very, very top was insulated from what upper management was doing.
Yeah.
And it's because their HR department was hiding it from the top levels.
Yes.
So that's a case of, now they're having to restructure because it sounds like they fired their entire HR executive staff as well.
Yeah, like it sounds like they're rebuilding. They've hired a consulting firm. It's going to be a different house of Ubisoft. Ubisoft Toronto is going to look drastically different considering they're launching Watch Dogs Legion this year.
This batch of games, as well as the last one, will probably be the God of Monsters one that comes out like probably next year.
Yeah.
This last batch, including that, will be the last ones that were fully developed under this direction. So any game that gets announced after God of Monsters, we'll see if any creative changes happen.
Yeah. So with that in mind, let's talk about this. So Ubisoft Forward showed off their big thing. They showed off two big games. Everything else is kind of who gives a shit. They showed off Watch Dogs Legion, which I think looks cooler the more and more that they show.
When they showed that you could just get up on a drone and fly anywhere.
Yeah, you could hack drones. Certain characters come with built-in weapons, like the construction worker has a fucking nail gun.
Yeah, and he just beats you up with a giant wrench.
Yeah, and he's just clocking people. You can pop someone in the head with this giant nail.
And in quotes, not John Wick.
Yeah, it's.
There's a character that fights exactly like John Wick, looks exactly like John Wick. The voice is exactly like John Wick, but it's not.
John Wick with the serial numbers filed off,
or the drunken soccer hooligan.
That's funny.
He headbutts people, and it's like, oh, well, he was a poor choice because he gets too drunk and passes out. And you can't control him anymore.
But yeah, like the Watch Dogs Legion looks fun, and obviously with what's going on in the world right now, very apt.
Surprisingly on the nose.
So good going, Ubisoft. You're hitting them out of the park this year. But yeah, it looks fun. They did announce its launch date. I think is November 17th. If that's anything, that tells you the console launch dates.
Pretty much.
Yeah, because everything now is going to be cross-platform. It's going to be coming out for Xbox One. It's going to be coming out on Xbox X or whatever the fuck it's called.
They announced, I think Microsoft said that every single game now, it's not just like every game gets an upgrade. Apparently, every single game must be both.
Yeah,
So
like
so
everything
the,
has to
so
be
the,
cross-platform.
so the talk is, I don't think they're even going to have a second SKU for some of these games. Like they're only going to sell one version that has a box that says it's for both until they discontinue the Xbox One.
Yeah. So that was a big tell. I remember me and Alex, because whenever we watch these things, we always have a private Facebook chat and we always just talk back and forth. And I'm like, and there's your launch date for the console. Our first clue was Cyberpunk 2077 when they said, we're being delayed until November 17th. Like, bullshit. That's your console launch date. Don't
Yeah.
my ear.
Especially since, people were playing what's essentially a final build. What they are doing now, at least, is they are giving themselves time to tweak it so that day one it works on every console. So the difference would have been they would have released the game with a few little glitches, and then they would have patched it, and then they would have been working on the code to automatically upgrade you to the new version. Well, now it'll just be ready at launch.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, Watch Dogs Legion looks cool. They didn't show off any collector's editions because Ubisoft, if they're known for anything, they're known for collector's editions. And I think now this is again pure speculation on my behalf. I wonder if they're delaying collector's editions because of COVID, because shipping difficulties could pose a problem.
Yeah, we're likely to see like the gold editions that we're used to with them as well. Like they always have, what is it, a gold and an ultimate or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the digitals will be ready to go, but I'm willing to guess if there was anything for Legion, it would be a mask that looks like that with like the king's crown on it or whatever.
Yeah, which would be surprisingly useful right now.
Yes. Oh God, that's what they should give as a COVID mask.
Oh my God. Actually, when I got the first Watch Dogs game, I don't know whether I still have it. I have Aiden Pierce's mask for like DedSec, and I have a DedSec hat somewhere.
They could totally just give you a mask.
That's such good marketing right there. It's such poor taste, but it's good marketing.
They finally showed off the bad guy for it, and it looks like, even though it's not his voice, it looks like Clive Owen.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. It looks good. And the idea, like, I was like, so they openly said that every single person you see out in public, you can recruit. I thought it was going to be like a few random people. It's every single NPC.
I am going to run around with a Golden Girls group or soccer hooligans.
Golden Girls, make it 4 Golden Girls and 1 soccer hooligan, and that's your team.
It's going to be awesome.
And they showed that you can recruit bad guys.
Yeah,
and turn them over to your cause.
Yeah,
which is cool.
It's going to be a fantastic game. Hopefully, it holds up.
Well, I saw a comment, people all over like the live stream saying, "Oh my God, I really hope you can recruit, the big boss of the game, the bad guy."
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be great? And a comment below was, "They're not CD Projekt Red, so no." And it's like, oh, burn. Now they showed that, and then they also showed the other big one. Obviously, was Valhalla. I was okay with Odyssey and the last ones. Like, I played them and I was like, they're fine, but they felt kind of padded out with a lot of the loop was kind of boring. Like the gameplay loop.
A lot of side quests.
Yeah, and not like, never really felt like you were obtaining anything. The way things leveled with you didn't really make you ever feel like you were properly leveling up and powering up. And then they had those issues where you could pay to level up quicker and other BS. This seems to take the best parts of the previous games and pepper in some new stuff.
I'll be curious to see how it holds up next to Odyssey. Odyssey is a game I put about 70 hours in, and
I put about 30. So I put in about 30, and I was like, I don't really feel like doing more.
I think our friend Darla put over 130 hours, and she's still not done. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. Like, there is a point of diminishing returns. Like, I found the sweet spot has been for games that aren't like Persona or like large RPGs. A good example would be the new game that I reviewed, Ghost of Tsushima. That's about 40 if you do just the main missions and like enough to get you your armor and stuff. But the sweet spot for a game that's like that open world style is between 50 and 70.
Yeah.
And any more than that, give me a new game or give me an expansion later. Make that 50 hours, that 50 core hours of gameplay, not counting like all the collectibles, make it like that 50, 60 hours worth my $60 or $80 in Canada, and go, okay, am I packing as much as I can in to make it exciting and diverse and dynamic for that amount of time? And if they're like, well, Skyrim's an example, let's just do Skyrim. It's like, to me, that's boring because it's just too much. It's too much to do, not enough direction. If you want a sandbox simulator, fine, but don't market it as like that open worlds have to be so immense and huge, because you see people complaining in the gaming industry saying these games are too expensive to make. We make them too big. And I look and I go, you're not necessarily making them too big. You're spending too much time on the wrong aspects of the game.
Yeah, because you look at stuff like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption 2, stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot to do in those games, almost too much. But yeah, I totally see your point. I mean, Valhalla looks interesting to me. I love seeing actual gameplay. I love the fact that you can dual wield any weapons. You want to go through the game with 2 shields?
Oh, yeah, shield. Play as a female, become a shield maiden, a Valkyrie.
That's cool. Yeah,
sure.
I want to do something. I was watching it and I'm like, I want to be like Castlevania. I want a shield and a morning star. That is fucking cool to me.
You can fucking go in with 2 morning stars.
Yeah, or and you huck axes at people and you grab them out of people. That's cool.
Oh, it's like, oh, you're Thor. That's nice. I have 2 hammers.
Yeah, like it looks really neat. Combat flows nice. The enemy variety seems way different than anything.
Enemies,
it seems closer to Odyssey.
You can kill an enemy, and then if you stay in the area too long, another enemy can come in, pick up their dead ally, and throw them at you.
Yeah, like it seems like combat's going to be a lot more dynamic.
And then there's like the sieges where you get a bunch of AI controlled allies that help you siege places. I don't know if this was in previous games, because unless I'm drawing a blank, but refresh my memory. Was town building a part of any of the previous games?
No, at least not. Or well,
kind of. Like
in Rogue and in Black Flag, you could improve your areas, but not truly build.
Yeah, because it looks like you're like building a settlement.
Yeah, like it's more expansive than anything I've seen. Like I know in Rogue you could rebuild part of the town you were doing or improve areas, but this looks different than that. So it looks cool. I mean, again, no collector's edition showing off. I'm sure there'll be something. Now, I know certain retailers are offering exclusive missions, which has been seen before. Like, I know Best Buy usually gets something exclusive, or like a steelbook case or something. So there's that. They had one title Ubisoft showed off, and this is who gives a shit. The new Splinter Cell mobile.
Anything mobile, it was like, oh, it's Bethesda all over again. I was like, oh, my Magic game, cool. Oh, it's mobile. Oh, there's a like hero game, and it's like oh, I was watching it, the one that had Splinter Cell guy in it, and I was laughing to myself before it was announced. I saw it, eventually realized it's probably going to be a mobile title. When I saw him show up, and I was like, how mad is Michael going to be when he watches this? Oh, yeah. And especially if they say, hey, by the way, we're rebooting Splinter Cell, and it's in this art style.
Yeah, like I thought it might have been a Tom Clancy universe hero shooter for like a second or two, and I'm thinking, all right, I'll give it nope, mobile, don't care. Which really sucks, because people have been asking since 2012, I think it was 2012 or 2013, with Blacklist was the last one. Although, that being said, Sam Fisher, voiced by Ironside, did show up in Splinter Cell Breakpoint as DLC for one of the missions under Deep State. So they're still keeping that continuity alive, but they're not doing anything with it for whatever reason. And Ironside's now back in the role after recovering from cancer, because that's why he gave the new guy the shot. It's been revealed in interviews. He's like,
he was sort of like the only movie he really did in that span was Turbo Kid, and he didn't move around a whole lot in that film. So that might have been around the time that he was sick.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw those. What was the other? There was another mobile. There was not a hero shooter. What was that one that was like that looked pretty cool? And
Hyperscape. Now, I have
yeah,
seen this in open beta. One of my streamer friends, Fuya, has been playing it on stream for like the last 2 weeks. It's basically a hero shooter battle royale, or not quite a hero shooter, but you have different abilities and hacks and obviously shooting and whatnot. It looks pretty, it's very vertical. Like you're jumping on buildings, you're bouncing around. It's very
yeah.
based. It's
See, that's the one I got confused with. Like, I was like, 'cause so many of them are coming out. I was like, is this the one that failed really badly when it hit the market? And it was like, no, that was the EA Rocket one that already tanked after like one day of being out.
Yeah, which is weird because I've heard good things about Rocket Arena. Like, there's a guy on YouTube I watch, and he's like, "It's pretty good, but no one's playing it." But then,
This one looks like it has the ability to pick up steam and like,
yeah, because a lot of the top streamers got the hype going for it, and Ubisoft, if they're known for anything, Ubisoft listens to their community. If something needs nerfed or fixed, they're on it pretty quick. They're not like Sledgehammer or Infinity Ward for Call of Duty, which takes weeks to fix something. Ubisoft, it's like a week maybe.
yeah. And the other thing that they showed off, other than the mobile titles, was that they committed to several more years of Rainbow Six Siege,
Which is good.
which will make it, I think, the longest running of that style of game.
Yeah.
Like not counting like Warframe as being like the actually
As a service game, technically.
yeah, like as a game that you have to pay for to get initially.
Yeah, like basically with like, for those of you that don't know, you buy the base game, you buy the seasons. It's kind of like a Fortnite battle pass. You get new operators if you want to buy them. Certain operators, when you play a match, they may ban ones or ban certain pieces of equipment. So not unlike COD, and it's tactical. I used to watch a lot of people who play Rainbow. It's not my type of speed of game, but it is very good. I'm surprised they haven't announced Rainbow Six Siege 2, though I wonder what happened to Rainbow Six Quarantine, though.
Quarantine people thought was like, is it another? We initially saw it and we're like, is it an expansion for Siege? No, it's a single player game. Like it's a traditional Rainbow Six game.
Mm-hmm.
And they did say during the show that they're going to do another Ubisoft Forward later on this year. So I'm assuming that's where they're going to show off that. They're going to show off God and Monsters. The talk was that they're retooling from scratch the
Skull and
Bones. And then there was still that one AAA title that not only like they were talking about how they had other ones coming out. They showed off like 4 out of the 5 or 3 or 4 out of the 5 AAAs that they said that were in the works. And the talk was that, or the rumors are that it was either going to be another Splinter Cell. It was going to be another Splinter Cell, or that they were reviving the Prince of Persia license.
I think a Prince of Persia now would be fantastic, especially because if they can take everything they've learned from Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell, they could do something really, really cool with it.
Especially if it ends up being developed using the new Unreal Engine. Like when we saw that, remember that PlayStation demo?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, "Wow, that looks like an amazing, world for Tomb Raider." I saw it and went, "No, that's an amazing looking world if you wanted to do another Prince of Persia with all the parkouring and everything." So that's something they're going to talk about probably down the line in the future.
My guess is if they're going to do another Ubisoft Forward, they'll do it in October, just before console launch,
to announce a few games coming for the next gen.
Yeah.
And they also because they didn't show off Beyond Good and Evil 2. They didn't show off.
They'll never finish that. Like seriously, it is never coming out. Hedge your bets now.
Yeah, but the big thing was, it was kind of spoiled earlier, was they did announce Far Cry, and it shows off that they've made like leaps and bounds in their facial mocap, because if you squinted or just like, depending on the frame that it was on, it looked like the real life actors.
I thought it was for most of it. I'm like, but yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah, it looks like you're going to be playing probably as the son of a dictator trying to overthrow the dictator.
Yeah, it's basically welcome to Far Cry Cuba, in which case neat, or Far Cry Chile, or Argentina, or some South American country whose politics I'm not particularly familiar with.
Yeah, yeah. It seems it's supposed to make you feel like you're toppling a evil dictator.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be cool. I mean, the Far Cry games I've always really enjoyed. I mean, I loved Far Cry 5. I didn't play New Dawn, though I know it's in the same continuity.
I did. It takes place years later, and it was a refinement of that engine. So they're one of the few companies that does like a tick talk on those games, where it's like the tick is brand new engine, brand new game, and then a year later they do a talk, which is not an expansion, but like an actual new game with a revision of that engine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it looks cool, but that's coming in February, so that's going to be the first of the true next-gen ones, but it will be multi-console still.
Yeah. So that's Ubisoft Forward. It was pretty good. I expected more, honestly, but we got Legion and Valhalla as high points.
And I like the fact that, you know, I think they knew that we were expecting more because they had taken so long to show any games. And that's why I was alleviated a bit when they said we're having another one this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we have another thing to look forward to in the next probably 3 to 4 months.
The next thing that we're going to talk about is the Stadia Connect, which for me kind of came out of nowhere. Stadia, yes, still a thing.
I knew it was coming, and people are saying that, like, oh, xCloud's killing it because xCloud was announced as being part of Game Pass Ultimate as of September. They appear to be marketing different things now. Game Pass Ultimate with xCloud is going to be like, here, play the game, just the way it, like the same as it would be regularly. Stadia is now differentiating themselves by offering features that you don't get in other cloud services. So their big thing was to show off, here's some games that are out. By the way, we're giving away a bunch of free games, yada, yada, yada. But then they went, hey, some of those features that we had announced that we wanted to do last year are finally going to be in it. But the big push is massive amounts of multiplayer in games that don't have that kind of multiplayer. So they showed off Super Bomberman R, which was, I think, a launch title or right close to launch on
the Switch,
where it was up to 8 player. It's now 64 player on Stadia. And they added like a tournament mode. They also added modes where you could share your game. Like you're streaming it live on YouTube, and you go, okay, I want to share a link on my stream where anybody that's a follower or watching your video can click on it and jump into your game with you.
Yeah, me and Alex were kind of talking about this, and I think it'll be very interesting to see how this works with certain games. I don't see it working well with certain competitive games. And what do I mean with that? I don't see this working well for COD unless it's a small like if you invite a team of people, that's fine. If you set up a tournament, maybe that'll work fine.
It looks like it invites you into a lobby to join the tournament once like you'll have to wait till the rounds are over.
Yeah.
And then you're in the server with the person you wanted to play with. So you can be in their lobby. It will work phenomenally well for party games like Bomberman.
Yeah, like I think it's made for that. It'd be good for things like anything that's maybe say Jackbox, but that doesn't require a whole lot of tech.
No, like think like your Mario Party, your WarioWare, your mini games, your Overcooked, that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. That, you know, put your friends, like if you're a streamer and you have your followers click on it, they get in the lobby, and then it can, you know, randomly pick who's going to be in the next round with you, so you could get a chance to play with your favorite streamer.
Yeah, so
and that's that aspect is cool. They also showed off was it what was that horror game that's popular that you said you didn't really care for?
Dead by Daylight?
Yeah, they showed a feature where while people are watching through YouTube, it can pop up with polls on the screen of like what mode should be played next, and based on what people are voting on, it changes the gameplay in Stadia for the players.
Yeah, they're like, what killer do you want to use? Which I could see that upsetting the balance of that game really dramatically.
And they didn't say it in the show, but I read about it after. The person who's hosting the stream can decide, you know, how many options are allowed to be there, or you know what I mean. Like you can tick on or off certain flags so that they can't like completely screw with you, Or you can do party runs where it's like, hey, yeah, let's do something chaotic. You pick whatever.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool. So that's stuff that they're not doing with xCloud. xCloud is purely
Streaming
the game.
mm-hmm.
This is the game interactivity as a platform. It's becoming more like choose your own adventure. And I feel like if they lean heavy into that, that will be the differentiating factor that might make them succeed, because they signed another multi-year deal with a few companies and they showed off like 3 or 4 developers that are now making exclusive games for them.
Yeah, I know Supermassive Games is doing it, and they're the guy who did Until Dawn.
Yeah, and a few other smaller companies doing the same thing. They showed off a party game. I can't remember the name of it, but it's where you're shooting things around corners and bouncing things.
Yeah, that's supposed to come out sometime in the fall.
Yeah, there's that. The Orcs Must Die 3, which I believe they had said initially was like a timed exclusive. They seem to make the verbiage sound like it's now fully exclusive.
Yeah, and that's available now if you happen to be a Stadia Pro person.
Yeah, and they also announced that they're getting the Hitman trilogy.
Yep.
So when the new Hitman drops, it'll drop day 1 on there as well. And they're also going to give away Hitman 1 for free. So, and the Hitman 3 game is going to have, actually all 3 of them they said are going to have exclusive items in the games that you can't get in anything else. They showed like a bunch of rubber duckies.
Yeah, which is like an item you can put with like explosives or poison or stuff like that. I'm trying to think of what else that they announced. There's going to be like 20 new games coming out. They did say that the Elder Scrolls Online comes with it now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, Elder Scrolls Online for a week or so to the end of the month or something like that is going to be completely free to claim if you're a pro member with all the expansions.
See, I think Stadia still has a long way to go. I think they launched about a year too early. I think the tech they're using is fantastic, but it's not there yet in terms of what they offer, because not a lot of developers have signed on, but it's Google. So in theory, they have more money than God if they really want to scoop up developers.
Yeah, because I just looked up here. It's because they sort of have pivoted. It's like remember their gaming division, they called it Stadia Games. That was their studio they built.
Yeah.
It's been renamed Stadia Games and Entertainment, which is pivoting towards more interactivity. So they could do like television shows that are interactive. They could do many different things.
There was something Xbox did about 2009, 2010. You might remember this. Do you remember when Xbox used to have game shows?
Yep.
If Stadia could figure a way, especially now with COVID and everybody being home almost all the time, if you told me, hey guys, at 8 o'clock Eastern on Stadia, we're going to have literally 1 versus 100. Who wants to be a millionaire? Hosted by so-and-so or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like have your webcam on. If you're a contestant, you can play through Stadia. And if you want to view it, check out our link on YouTube's main page. And you can come in and watch live the players playing from home, doing trivia and stuff. And, lifelines are, ask the Stadia audience. And, have it like be like a multiple choice for 4 questions, and the Stadia audience can influence them and say, hey, we believe it's this, and give advice that way, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like lifelines. We also discussed it. I said, hey, think about how it could work for things like the improv shows, like Whose Line Is It Anyway? You could literally we have 4 categories for this skit, and we're going to have the audience pick which ones we're going to do, and they could do it live.
Yeah.
And you could just click a button at home and have potentially hundreds of millions of people just click and go, boom, I want to see that. And it's going to influence how they do the YouTube originals. So I looked, remember how I said that they changed their name to Stadia Games and Entertainment?
Yeah.
They actually have 3 studios now. So they have the main one they started. Then they acquired in December Typhoon Studios, which I'm looking at them to try to figure out what they've made before.
Mm-hmm.
They're based in Montreal, formed by former Ubisoft, EA, and Warner Brothers Montreal people. They made Journey to the Savage Planet that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're working on other stuff. Now they're exclusively owned by them. They also acquired another studio. So they have 3 studios, 2 to make medium and smaller budget games. And then they have 1 AAA that they're working on. That's probably going to be like, I'm thinking 2 years before we see a AAA title from them. But the creator of the main studio, the head, is Jade Raymond. She's the executive producer on Assassin's Creed 2, Bloodlines, Splinter Cell, Blacklist, Watch Dogs. So they have somebody who knows how to make AAA titles in charge of that division. So for people that are wondering, like, are they going to fail or are they just going to shut it down? They've probably got about 3 years forward invested into this. If in 3 years, whatever AAA titles they make or whatever hasn't caught on, that's when you're going to see them probably divest interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're too many billions invested to give up after 1 year. So it'll be interesting. Is it ever going to compete with xCloud? No, but it's not competing on the same platform. So they're not looking for the exact same thing. So it was interesting. At least that show was only about 18 minutes long, so it wasn't super, long and boring. And they showed off like a fair amount of games. They're giving out like 10 games this month for free,
something like that. I mean, Stadia, I will say, you've got your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
I think the idea is you've got to position your marketing now because people are at home. I'm not saying people have disposable income, but maybe there's some way for you to break in. Here's the thing, and I've been called out on this multiple times. Holy shit, I never hear the end of it. But I'll say this. Stadia's tech is fascinating.
Yeah, for future tech, how they're going to handle it in the future specifically.
Yes, they launched about a year too early. But we'll see what happens because Google does have a history of abandoning products.
Yeah, it depends on how heavily they integrate this in YouTube.
Yes.
Because YouTube ain't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It'll also, we discussed that, hey, how could they leverage this? If they signed Ninja now and had him promoting Stadia.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and had them not only playing games on Stadia, but advertising it through their YouTube channels. And that's how you're going to, if you get that young generation that's watching them to, pick up YouTube, start watching, and then click on Stadia. Also, if they were to, for instance, like right now, it's like $10 a month for YouTube Premium or what used to be called YouTube Red. Well, if they made it, let's say $12.99 and then included Stadia, the install base would be so much larger, and they'd be like, hey, by the way, your YouTube Premium account not only removes all ads from YouTube, gives you access to our YouTube originals, but we also include Stadia with like two or three free games per month. If they did that and like completely integrated it into like their YouTube account, that would be something incredibly stellar, and it would be something that even Microsoft couldn't leverage.
Yeah.
So that was the show. Cool stuff. Oh, and the only other thing that they showed off that was interesting was that Square Enix title.
Oh, yeah, the weird Mass Effect Gears of War weird hybrid thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably the best way to describe it.
I mean, it looks okay, I guess.
Was it called Outriders, I think?
I think so.
Yeah, Outriders. Designed by the company People Can Fly. What the hell have they made? Oh, the Painkiller games. They also... They co-developed Gears of War 3, Gears of War Judgment, and they made Bulletstorm.
I liked Bulletstorm and I liked Gears of War Judgment, so I think they're a pretty good developer.
Oh, they did the PC port of Gears of War 1, and they co-developed Gears of War 2 as well. And they did... what else was that one here? So Bulletstorm, that the Painkiller series... They co-developed Fortnite Save the World. Is that just Fortnite?
I think that might have been the single-player campaign before people started playing the BR mode.
No, that's actually what Fortnite is. That's the full name of Fortnite.
Oh, wow.
So they co-developed Fortnite with Epic Games.
Okay.
So they have a good pedigree. And it does look like Gears of War meets Mass Effect. So... I was worried it was going to be an online-only title. It looks like it's a full story game.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess I'd like to see more from it. I mean, its trailer is generic as fuck.
It's like, hey, we got to have our version of FemShep fighting in the
Well,
Gear style.
the trailer narration is so cliched. The last survivors of humanity. Yes, of course. Um, and maybe I've been in this game too long, but I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, where are the Reapers going to come in at this point? But anyway, the last thing we're going to talk about today, this one was a live stream as part of the Summer Game Fest, or whatever the hell it is, hosted by not quite a robot, Jeff Keighley.
Jeff Keighley, well, we know he's not a robot because he now has gray hair.
This is true. He has aged during this pandemic.
Wait, he could be a Terminator.
He very well could be. Powered by PlayStation 5.
If we ever see him doing a live stream and he gets a knock at the door and he just goes, "Fuck you, asshole," then we know exactly what's going on.
He's been set back in time to kill Hideo Kojima. So yeah, we were watching him do a live stream this past Thursday, and he looked at the PlayStation DualSense controller for the PlayStation 5. As far as I know, he's one of the only people to get their hands on it.
I think they said he was the first person outside of their internal divisions.
Because Jeff has made enough connections from his game trailers days, from the Game Awards. He's a well-liked guy.
He has a team, obviously, but he pretty much single-handedly saved the gaming press from COVID. Like, you know, the idea, like, he built up enough goodwill with his Game Awards, and then being so outspoken against E3 last year set him up to take over when E3 shut down. Yeah, like, Jeff, think of what you will, but he does some good stuff. So he showed off this thing with his own personalized demo of Astro's Playroom. Yeah, it's just like Astro's Playroom, Jeff's demo.
And it shows you exploring around as this little character, going around through the PlayStation's cooling system and everything. But he's showing off the control. He's showing the adaptive triggers, the 6 or whatever the motion controls that are built.
Yeah, he was careful not to say 6-axis, because you could see he was like reading from a sheet of certain, points. And I was surprised he didn't say 6-axis, maybe because there's like a negative connotation with that. Because remember how people really didn't like layer.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like using the term 6-axis is almost like marketing poison now, because they did specifically have him say, 6, degrees of motion or whatever it was, or however he worded it. But it wasn't 6-axis specifically. I did like the thing where it's like the comments are, oh, so they finally hit Nintendo levels of interactivity because you can blow into the built-in microphone and have it do things in the game.
Yeah, although one of the things Alex and I were kind of talking about is this controller opens up a lot of interesting options for accessibility.
Yeah.
In terms of how much feedback you want to do. You want to disable certain functions. You want things to be easier for you.
Yeah, for some people that might not have, like, their hands might not have the dexterity or the agility to move fast enough or even apply enough pressure. Like, let's say you're somebody who has really bad carpal tunnel, but you still like to play games. This hopefully means that they'll be able to turn off the pressured triggers and the feedback and all. Like, the ability to have it on is great, but it looks like they're going to be smart, because he mentioned that they'll be adaptable to the amount of pressure and everything based on the user or the game. So expect a lot of games to have the option to turn that stuff off.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it deals with an online shooter. He actually said it feels a little heftier than the PlayStation 4's DualShock or control. Is that what it's called? The DualShock?
DualShock 4.
Yeah, DualShock 4 controller. And looking at it, it does look a little heavier. It's not quite the level of a SCUF controller, but it looks to be about the same dimensions, if that makes any sense. It looks heavier to me. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it, because Alex, again, made this point to me. Your guns in Call of Duty may feel different. And that will be very interesting to see how that plays into the competitive scene. Now, obviously, the pros are going to turn that shit off.
Well, it's because it sounds like well, yeah, pros are going to turn it off unless they specifically state you can't in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He sounded like he said when you tilted the controller in different directions to use the motion. He was saying that the HD rumble or the haptic feedback can change. So turning it slightly can make the controller rumble a little bit. Turning it a lot makes it rumble more. You can actually get like resistive feedback based on the motion controls even. So what does that mean? Well, it could mean that when you're running around with a pistol and you fire it, you have a certain amount of recoil or a certain amount of tension before the trigger pulls. Well, that tension will be completely different, and the weight. So, like, you'll have more vibrations and more weight and more resistance if you're firing a sniper rifle or a shotgun.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it'll work, and I hope that didn't pick up on Mike. For a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, how it feels with your bow tension. Or The Last of Us 2, guaranteed that's getting a patch.
Well, think about if they bring out like mecha games, like if you brought out like an Armored Core, your mechs could feel different moving.
Yeah, like there's a lot of neat possibilities, and I usually don't put too much stock into this type of thing, which is funny because when I buy a controller, I'm the guy who invests the $200 into an elite controller because I want it to feel good. This controller looks like I don't need to buy third-party aftermarket stuff, which is really, really nice. They're listening to people in terms of accessibility. Now, not all developers are going to use it. They're probably going to be encouraged now, considering you saw how accessible The Last of Us 2 was and Ghost of Tsushima as well.
Where things that required rapid pressing of buttons many times, or required quickly pressing buttons for before in a sequence for it to work. Those new games, you can press an accessibility option to turn off, having to press buttons fast, or being able to just hold a button down to do the same thing that pressing it multiple times was. Like, that's already been sort of ingrained and baked into most of the new first party titles. So expect that to trickle down.
Yeah. So I'd say that was neat. Now, Jeff tried to press him for a release date on the PlayStation 5. Not happening. However, if indications of any of these big titles, such as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion, Cyberpunk 2077, Halo Infinite, I promise you will get a release date this week. November 17th is a date to watch.
Yeah, because especially when right around the same time that this came out, Sony confirmed that they're doubling their production of the PlayStation 5s to the point where they said that they want to have so many million ready for the holiday season, and then the rest are coming at the middle of December to early January. So that means it has to be earlier than that. At the same time, Microsoft canceled the production of the Xbox One X and the all-digital Series S, all-digital Xbox One S. Good God, they have a terrible naming scheme. And now they're only going to sell, I think it's the 1 terabyte regular Xbox One S, I guess, for at least a year or so, maybe 2 years. They're going to keep selling that one. But they did that, so they ramped down the production so that they could start producing more Xboxes. But it sounds like with Sony, they're still producing all of the PS4 Pro, the regular PS4. They're still producing. They're just like throwing money into it to produce as many systems as possible. Like, they're expecting 12 million systems in the first 2 months. Which
and
if you compare that to what the PS4 was, that's like double.
Yeah.
So I guess their goal is to not have shortages at all,
which would be very smart considering this is going to be a very unique holiday season this year. Online shopping is going to be the way to go. They do not want retailers like Best Buy, Target, Amazon, Walmart, etc. to run out. They don't want you going to stores. They want to make sure these warehouses have everything you need. So I don't think getting pre-orders for these consoles is going to be hard. I really don't.
No, it won't be, as long as EB Games and GameStop stay open.
Yeah.
It may be harder to trade things in towards them if those stores close. But I think that what we're going to see is, like, it'll show up on Amazon, go down immediately because it'll crash. And then we're probably going to see like every week leading up to release, it going back in stock as they start determining their stock amount. Because out of those 12 million or whatever consoles, expect 50% of them to be Amazon and Walmart, and then the rest will be GameStop and whatever other stores.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting week. It was sort of spits and spats of information. We got some information we wanted, some we didn't, weren't expecting. I'm more optimistic about the Ubisoft titles now than I was before.
Yep.
And it's going to be really interesting to see what Microsoft does, this coming week.
Yeah, hopefully Microsoft does something spectacular. I hope you have a price, and I hope you have console release date. I'm predicting $550 Canadian right now. That's
$550 Canadian, because wasn't the original PS3 $699 Canadian for the larger upper one and like $599 for the lower one?
Yeah, I think so.
Which was kind of ridiculous. I remember my friend spending. He didn't even get an extra controller. He got the system, and he got Ridge Racer, and it was like $850, taxes included. And that was when our taxes were a little higher, but I think it was like $650 or $700, because wasn't it $599 American? I think it was like $599 American, so it would have been like $700 Canadian, something ridiculous. So like they won't go that high. Yeah, you're right. $550 Canadian would put it at what, about $450 American?
Something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing right now. I'm just basing that on Microsoft wants the install base.
Question: if all of the physical disc ones sell out fast, would you be willing to go with a lower end one just to get it in your house?
No.
Just to get a digital one in?
Nope. Because I want the horsepower. I know.
No, not the Xbox. Oh yeah, that's right. The Xbox. I was thinking the PlayStation.
We as an outlet need the horsepower.
Yeah, like I think eventually, what I probably end up doing, depending on if I can do trade deals and stuff, is I would like to have one of each console that has a disc, which would mean it's the higher end version of each, and then eventually I would probably get the digital versions to put like in opposite rooms.
Yeah, with my plan is to get a digital PlayStation, because you can put hard drives into those things.
You can put a new NVMe in. You can use an external drive for your PS4 games. And how often are you really playing physical anymore? Like,
I haven't put a disc in my PlayStation 4 in months.
Yeah, and if I end up getting the version that has a disc, and we get sent a physical copy of a game for review, which is it's few and far in between, but if we do, then I guess I'll just review it.
Yeah, this week actually is the first time I got a review copy physical since at least a year and change. At least.
Yeah, the last time I got anything was I got that was it Deathmark or something, the Mastiff Asian horror game. I got that sent in the mail. That's probably about a year ago. So yeah, it's not as often that you get physical. We still get a lot of physical movies and stuff. So you'd want at least one of the consoles to have it. So you'd probably go. You said with the Xbox, right? That has because that is the higher. It is going to be a bigger difference, I think, in physical hardware for that. So yeah, it's always a good idea to get the higher end Xbox, and then, but yeah, PlayStation. It's the first time I've ever considered not going with a disc, as long as one of my consoles can play 4K movies. So it's going to be very interesting just to see how it goes. Do you think out of those like 12 million units that they're going to go a 50-50 split? And do you think the extra systems they ordered are the discless versions because they can produce them faster?
Maybe. I don't know. And I wonder if there'll be a limited edition console, because I noticed Jeff Keighley snuck, if I remember this right, I think he snuck in a question about a limited edition console, and the guy seemed evasive for just half a second. That's probably me reading into it.
You just know that there's going to be, at least in Japan, that you can import like a Final Fantasy one
or something different color,
or yeah, if you're gonna do a different color than the white and blue, go gray and blue and make it look like the original PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm hoping there is something special. if this is going to be a new console generation, maybe I'll splurge a little bit and get something.
They're going to announce NAC 3, and it's going to be the NAC edition.
Oh, fuck that.
No, even better. Fallout 76 edition.
A Fallout would be cool.
Just like my current Xbox, like my Xbox One X, which I got for like 40% off because nobody wanted the Fallout edition.
So that's pretty much going to do it for this edition of ThisWeekInGeek.net's Prototype. We will be returning next week talking about the Xbox showcase on July 23rd. We'll probably be back next weekend at some point. We are returning to our regular programming the first week of August with, I'm not quite sure what. We're probably going to have a Future Imperfect. We have been talking. We got some loose cannons talking about. We got some ideas lined up for that. We're going to be doing the regular show. We might have Roebuck back on the show. We've been talking about doing that. A lot of reviews coming out. Even though I am on holiday, I do have a lot of stuff to get out. So expect my voice on Alex's show in the next little bit.
Yeah, like probably be another mini episode, sort of like we did last week, just to get a couple reviews out, and if there's any major news, like again, if we get notification that the world is ending, we'll probably mention it.
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully you folks are enjoying your summers. If you've learned anything from me, stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated, people.
Yes, please. So until next time, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman Dodd, saying be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next time, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Well, that's our show. All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek, your source for guaranteed nonsense or your money back. Tune in next week for more info on the most important things you didn't need to know. Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head over to this episode's post at ThisWeekInGeek.net and leave a comment through Facebook Connect. Follow us on Twitter at ThisWeekInGeek.net and follow our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. Social media not your thing? Send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. We'll see you next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.
I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.